Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steven Gergella, and this is the Automotive Market Minute that may or may not take just over a minute, January 2024. I'm here with my esteemed colleague,
Phil Tributowski. Hello, everybody.
Phil Tributowski, our analytics director here at Fountain Ford. Phil, let's get into it.
Let's do that.
So, first and foremost, we're going to cover the end of the year. We're going to talk about December recap. Then we're going to talk about the dealer sentiment and some of the facts behind the dealer sentiment. We're then going to talk about the improving affordability of new vehicles and overall used vehicles as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a dealer case study, and with the shift from the COVID times, if you will, into the new era, how shifting management and shifting culture can quickly increase your sales. Number three, please, Phil. So total new light vehicle sales increased 13% year over year in the month of December. And month over month, 17.5%. Now, what's interesting is November for a lot of dealers was surprisingly solid after September and October were. I'm going to use quotes from our dealers here, so please, I never avoided a dramatic moment if you know me. So I'll call September and October a bloodbath for some dealers, to quote them. And then coming into November, I'm not saying by any means that dealers were absolutely killing it, but November was surprisingly solid, and then December for many dealers was also very solid. And so also the average transaction price of a new vehicle dropped 2.4% year over year. I'm sure that's not too difficult to figure out how it got there, and we'll talk about interest rates here in a little bit. But overall, December for most dealers was fairly solid. With that said, there were also dealers that really had a tough December, depending on, number one, the culture of their store, number two, the inventory they had, and number three, their market. So it was definitely a very, I would say, the parity in December was much bigger than normal. So, Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, and looking at dealer sentiment, this is a survey that Cox Automotive ultimately ended up conducting. If you look at dealer sentiment specifically for the fourth quarter of 2023, and this is really like the sentiment for the outlook of the current market, you can see outside of the COVID low, dealer sentiment was at an all-time low again outside of that COVID low. A couple factors as far as why dealer sentiment is currently so low. Interest rates, they remain high. That continues to be kind of the leading factor that is causing dealers to have a negative outlook looking forward for 2024. The economy, that's another factor. Market conditions and really credit availability for consumers, along with some limited inventory constraints that are still still very much apparent in the market. Those are really the top 5 reasons why dealer sentiment is where it is. Steven, anything that you'd want to add there?
Phil, yeah, I'll jump in there, bud. Yeah, it's interesting because it's been wonderful to have Fountain Ford grow to this many dealers, have an imprint in 17 states, and be able to get some narrative from a lot of these guys. And if you look at what happened from August to September, that's really how this timing worked out. September was the end of Q3. It's going into Q4. Sentiment was still the same because of what was happening in Q3. And then you shift in, and it's October, November. Really, September, October was boom, boom. It's like right jab, left hook, and then all of a sudden, November and December. There were dealers that did well in comparison to how November normally is, and then December comes in, and it seemed as if expectations just were shifted down. Meaning, it's like December to remember. It's always the quote I use. I realize that's only Lexus's. I believe it's Lexus. Their slogan or their tagline. But the point is normally there's that let's kill it at the end of the year. Well, the narrative still was let's kill it at the end of the year. But how much can we really kill it? It's like this. It was almost like there was an excuse if they didn't do as well as they could. And then when the consumer sentiment came out, or the dealership sentiment came out, it was like, you can hear it, and then you just wait to see it come out in the quarterly report, and it's boom, it's all the way at the bottom. And so it'll be very interesting to see, considering the fact that in the stock market, here comes this Santa rally. And if you ask Trump, let me tell you the reason why.
What a Santa rally we saw this year.
This is a terrible Trump impression, but the reason why I went up is because I'm leading in the polls. If they think for some reason I'm not going to win, it's going to go down. The stock market's going to drop 25% overnight. And so that's actually what he said last night, by the way. And so, Trump's leading in the polls. Maybe that's why the Santa rally's on. Obviously, it's probably not the whole story. But the point is the consumer looks like they're being resilient. We'll see what happens with holiday spending, etc. When it comes down to the big purchases and stuff, dealers are feeling that from the consumer standpoint. And like you mentioned, the interest rates definitely aren't helping. If you want to go to the next one.
Yeah. So is there any relief coming? I mean, well, we have seen affordability and some signs of improving affordability really kind of start to hit the market. You can see incentives, specifically low financing incentives, those are starting to increase. So as these rates are staying higher in the economy, granted, the Fed has indicated that they will likely be pivoting in 2024. We have started to see some incentives continue to improve throughout the end of 2023 and thus far in 2024. So as new inventory has been hitting dealership lots, OEMs are trying to move it. We are seeing incentives start to increase in the overall industry, and with new inventory continuing to improve and has been improving throughout really this past year, used vehicle values are also falling. So there is some hope for some of those consumers who are, kind of constrained by where rates are at and where pricing has been at. There are still consumers sitting on the sideline ready to buy. They're just waiting for more affordable conditions.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We have the new inventory influx. We see what happened with Ford. We see what happened. CDGR was obviously the first one to really increase a ton of inventory, if you will, or have even too much inventory. Remember when we looked at average market day supply for the entire set of brands, you could see the top four. I think it went like Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep. And so we know they had a lot of them, but you could see Ford and other ones popping up more and more and more. And sure enough, the used car prices were dropping more and more and more relatively, not on some crazy downfall this last month, I should say. But you can definitely tell that used vehicles are getting to this it feels as if it's getting to a normalized level in comparison to where the market's at.
Yeah, but also not all new inventory is at the same level as CDGR. I have a Hyundai store. They started this month with 40 units on the ground. So inventory is still definitely a limiting factor for some dealerships right now.
For sure. So regarding the dealer case study that we talked about, I'll be brief here, guys. This just shows a shift of where a dealer was at during COVID and where a dealer made a shift in management going into November, December of this last year. First and foremost, I give a lot of credit to this store for looking internally. What we say here at Fountain Forward is when it comes down to driving traffic, getting as many conversions as possible into leads, and then looking at the sales team taking over, there's a mix between how you're driving traffic, where the actual traffic's going to, what types of vehicles they're seeing, what would make them want to convert. Because remember, they're exchanging information knowing that you're about to hound them. I say it like that because that's the way a lot of consumers are think about it. And so that it has to be a good enough bait, if you will, to make them want to reach out to me. It has to be a good enough offer. Okay. And then after that, it comes down to the salespeople. And the salespeople not only have to be cultivating their current database, their previous customers, referrals that they can get, the service drive, etc. But then they're also working on the type of inbound opportunities that I just mentioned. The credit to this dealer is we're sitting there and Fountain Forward is grinding every campaign we possibly can. We're trying left, right, the next thing. The same system that was in place for the last 12 months, pretty much. The management shifted on November 1st. Our system was able to be maximized with that management. Doesn't mean that we didn't make other tweaks, but realistically, the system that was already in place is the same one that helped provide the fruit for November and December as you see that jump. That is a cultural shift. That is a managerial management shift. And it's amazing to see when a dealer's in a tough position and they could easily just start firing left and right, us, whoever else, and go in I'm not going to say the wrong direction, but in another direction. And this internal shift has them jump, 50% plus in sales immediately those following 2 months. And what I will tell you is with the inbound calls that we're having with dealers on a regular basis right now, it is the same type of thing, especially with small markets. I got my team, go to the next one, Phil. I got my team into this spot during COVID. There was this and that and the next thing. I had this conversation from, the hill country in Texas. I'm having this conversation with a guy in Ohio right now. I'm having a conversation with this guy in Vermont right now. It's all the same one. I got my team into this mindset and being able to pull them out of it. I don't know if I can do it. Meaning, are they going to have to make a cultural shift to actually get the store back to where they want it to be? Why, if you're a dealer, why would it not have to be a cultural shift? It would have to be led by you. If everybody just was able to sit there and have food just walk up and hand it to them, and now they have to go hunting all of a sudden, and it's been a few years, do they even know how to hunt anymore? It's worth being reasonable before we just make it cruel. It's like, no, let's just be reasonable. They probably forgot how to hunt. They know how to eat still, but they probably forgot how to hunt. And so that's just that's the thing that I would definitely highlight that is being brought up by our dealers. Yes, I'm bringing it up, but I'm regurgitating what is being brought up. And it's this cultural shift that needs to be done within the sales team, sales managers, et cetera, to ensure that they are working as hard as they can for what they already have in front of them, previous customers, referrals, mining the service drive, et cetera. And then realizing that when it comes down to building and bringing in colder traffic, such as online or doing other advertising, colder traffic is always going to be harder to convert. And that's even extra effort for the sales teams. So just a couple other things here with regards to that. We've talked about this before. Every single lead from the previous station should be checked by a manager every single morning, responding to leads as fast as possible and getting your contacts per lead up. Secret shoppers every 2 weeks for our dealers. So we have a secret shopper that goes on every 2 weeks for our dealers. Salespeople, if they proactively bring up the trade, they increase appointments set by 72%. And of course, the 0% and low lease payments are currently doing the best for new offers. And just keep in mind that if you have a independent store that is in a small town and your average MSRP is $30,000 right now, unless you are known in the market for trucks, for example, and you have 200 trucks, it's going to be very difficult to sell because the mass market can't afford $30,000 trucks right now. So, Phil, did I cover the things?
I think you nailed it. That's the Automotive Market Minute.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next month.